Hi, this is our first recording. As I mentioned several times that we have some problems with online meetings with Internet Interact 2, and they're still working on it. It is not user friendly as you might think of. So what I'm doing now, first I had a problem, no one can find it, few people went in, but then when I was editing, I find out that some bits of the recordings were not having sound. So so yeah, this is the recording that we were supposed to have before the test, which is due on this Friday. First, let me tell you what is this recording about. As I mentioned a few times in the discussion forum, the first recording is about our topics and our subject in general. We are not going to go through the lectures or to talk about first topic, second topic, third topic, but as an introduction to our subject. Another thing is that I found this way to be much easier, and we can have as many as you want me to, those recordings, because what I'm doing now, I'm using Capture, and I will upload to the YouTube, and then I will provide the link for this recording. Instead of mucking around with Interact 2 until at least they finalize and they make it much more user friendly for us and for you, of course, to access it. That's one thing. Another thing, what you are missing here is you cannot stop me and ask me a question because it is recording. But you can have definitely questions posted to the forum or send me by email. For example, if I say something here and you didn't understand, then you ask me, oh yeah, in your recording I find out that I didn't understand what you meant by saying something. So for time being, we will be doing those online recordings as now. So I will pause the recording. If you have a question, you watch it. If you have a question, you come back to me and I will try to answer them. So yeah, that's from the administrative point of view about this. Second thing that I want to tell you is about our subject. Few things. First, for this test, the test is actually intended to see how you are getting into this subject. So it is not something, if you wouldn't score 100, that it is end of the world. It is to see how you are doing and to give us a picture if you need to do something else. If we need to, for example, have more of the recordings, if you have problems with certain concepts, to guide you how to overcome that particular issue. And so that's the first, that's the test. It's an easy test, 10 multiple choice questions, and as I always say to students, you have at least 25% of guessing it, even if you don't know the right answer. Some tips about this test and about assessments in general: read the question twice. Make a note. While you are reading the question, make a note what the question is about. it could be sometimes the two questions are so similar that you cannot, at the first sight, you cannot find any difference. The second thing is that if you are not 100% sure about, for example, one question has few answers that they answer, probably they answer the question, then try to find the most appropriate, having in mind the context of the question, and you will be okay. And on the top of it, be careful about how it works, this test. You have all questions shown at once, and you have a time limit to do them. You cannot go halfway and save your questions and then go back later on. You cannot do it. Whenever you finish, and whatever you finish, it will be submitted. And it is automatic, so you will have your grade posted onto the Interact. As I mentioned at the beginning, it is not the end of the world. If you cannot access, if you made a mistake, if you click the wrong button, give me a call, send me an email. I have those questions. I can post it to you, and you can redo the test. Or, as I said, the main purpose of this test is to see how you are getting into our subject. Okay, what is our subject about? Our subject is about labor economics, of course, as you know. But more on that, it is very interesting because subject and sub-discipline of economics, because it is talking about interaction in the labor market between employees and employers. You have on one side millions of employees, and on the other side you have millions of employers. So, and on both sides you have people, you have humans. So it is interesting how it is labor market is functioning, having those two sides into the market as a market agents. On that line, first topic is about schools, an overview of our subject. First about schools. We have three main schools in labor economics. It is orthodox, neoclassical or orthodox school. We have institutional school and radical school. Those first two are the main concern of in our curriculum. Radical school, we will leave it for some other times. We are not concerned about their thoughts. Neoclassical or orthodox school is, sort of traditional school of thoughts in labor economics. This school of thoughts believe that free operation in labor market is the best outcome. Or in another word, the less intervention of institutions in the labor market, it will bring easier the equilibrium and allocated labor and efficiently. And they proposed the wage competition model, which suggested that workers are paid according to their marginal productivities. I'm just going through, like scratching the surface of those topics in our curriculum. You will find in students resource folder, you will find slides that I have into my computer. You can see that. And so it is just scratching the surface, mentioning few things about those three topics that we were into now. The the difference between institutional and neoclassical school is that Orthodox or neoclassical school believes that without intervention, the labor market will get into equilibrium much more efficiently and easily, and the labor will be allocated efficiently. Institutional school add institutions, that's why it's called the institutional school of thought. Institutions like government and unions. They believe that leaving the market free of any intervention is not enough, and there are inefficiency in the labor market that have to be rectified by the intervention either by the government or government and unions in the market. So they institutional school of thought place greater focus on the role of human resource management policy, labor unions policies, and government policies to address market imperfections. The interesting things about more details you can find in your textbook. The interesting thing about labor supply, which is our second topic, is that it is different from from supply curve. The shape of the labor supply curve is different from the supply curve that you were talking or learning in microeconomics first, second or third, first few topics. What is the difference? The difference is the labor supply. The best thing to understand, not just in labor economics, but in microeconomics, is as I'm telling to my students in microeconomics, put yourself in their shoes. If we are talking about labor, if we are talking about demand, put yourself in consumers' shoes. What would you do, and in certain situation, and how you would behave in certain situation, having in mind that in economics we are talking about rational people and average rational people in the market. So, and in the labor supply, put yourself in the shoes of suppliers. If price is going up, would you provide more or less of the commodity that you are producing, having in mind that you establish a business to make a profit? Of course, if price is increasing and you are a supplier, you will increase supply. If you are a consumer, on the other side, if price is increasing, what would you do? You would reduce quantity demanded. That logic applies, and it's foundation of this subject. And but there are some specifics for the labor market. If we are talking about labor supply, and we know that supply for commodities, the shape of the supply curve, supply curve is showing a relationship between price and quantity supply. If market price is going up, quantity supply is going up as well. So the relationship between two variables is positive, meaning the shape of the curve is upward sloping curve. Here, in labor market, labor supply curve has part of that shape, and then it changed shape. Why? Once again, think you are in the labor market and think as within this context. You are employed, for example, in my case, I have 30 years of experience. First 10 years, with any increase in wage rate, which is our price of labor service, with any increase of wage rate, I was supplying more hours of work. After 10 years, with increase of wage rate, I supplied even more hours of work. And then until I reached the point when I accumulated enough income that I can afford, with increased wage rate is increasing with experience, because I'm more experienced, I learned during the work, and I'm much more valuable to an employer than people just started their work for the employer. So at a certain point of my professional career, having accumulated enough income, I can afford, with increased wage rate by the experience, I can afford to reduce my supply of labor service. So the shape of the curve, from my perspective here, is it is increasing and then reaching the point and then going backwards. So we have the backwards bending shape of labor supply curve in our context. Or it's something like this. So with increased wage rate, the quantity of supplied labor service is slightly increasing until the certain point when starts to going backwards. So the specifics of the labor markets, the first and probably the major specific of the labor market compared to the commodity market is that labor supply curve is backward bending. Of course, in your textbook you will find much more and in more details and how it is defined, the point where you will supply the labor service, when you will supply more of labor service, and when you will start reducing labor service. But the main point here that I want to bring to your attention is this shape of the curve, labor supply curve. So that's about labor supply, which was our second topic. The third topic is about labor demand. Another specific of the labor market is the labor demand. Basically, in a nutshell, the specific is this, that labor's demand is derived demand. What that means? It means it's derived from the demand for the commodity that labor service is producing. Okay, let me simplify that. It means if you are producing certain commodity and there is a big demand for that commodity, you will increase demand for the labor service. And vice versa. If you are producing something that it is not that very popular in the market, so the demand for your commodity that you are producing is reducing, then consequently you will lay off people, and you will reduce demand for the labor service. That's the main point for the labor demand, in labor demand. So it is not demand for a commodity, but it is derived from the demand of certain commodity that labor service is producing, making and producing and selling on it. Again, you will find much more in details in your textbooks and those slides that we posted online on our Interact. That's basically about. Probably you might think, well, we were expecting you will be talking about the test and the assessments. Well, I can say a few more things about what you would like me to tell you about those assessments. First test, as I said, it's just to see how you are getting into this subject. If you are having problems, if you are doing good, if you are having problems with certain concepts, then that we can, in upcoming weeks, we can pay attention to it and we can help you to get up to the speed. I know it is hard to be on the other side and on your own and without this interaction between lecturer and students, but that's how this subject is run at our university. So we can't change that. But we are trying our best and we are really happy to be of use, if you like, for you to go through. What that means? It means we are here for you, not the other way around. We are here to, we are facilitator. We cannot do anything else apart from facilitating your learning. And that's it brings me to my philosophy. My teaching philosophy is based, and the main concern of it is your learning. I don't care about few things. I care about you learning. If you submit for this test, you have to set the deadline. You have to, and you had a week to go through. You had 2 weeks that it was available for 10 questions. So each day you could have 70% of each question. So you had plenty of time to go through your materials and to go back and to check the questions and to do something about it. So we had to cut that deadline because the census date is the next week's Friday. So we have to see if you're doing good or if you're having problems or if you're not planning to finish it off or whatever. It is sort of a gauge system to see where you are at the moment. The other assessments, upcoming assessments, they are much more serious and they are much more harder, and but you still have plenty of time. There are not many, and plenty of time to work through it, and of course with us behind you all the way. That's one thing. Another thing is communication. If you don't tell me that you have problem or that you are struggling with certain concept, I have no clue until it comes to those assessment units, until it comes to something that you have to submit, and I find out that you are struggling with, say, discrimination or labor supply or whatever. So yeah, that's our way of finding out. But before finding out, I urge you to communicate. If you don't communicate, even in your family, even amongst your friends, if you don't communicate, they won't know that you are struggling, that you have a problem, that you have issue with certain concept or certain thing. So you have to communicate in your private life and in here. This is the basic assumptions that if you are not communicating to me issues relating to this subject, I have no clue. And when you submit something and I find out, then it might be a little bit late, and it might be much more harder to rectify the problem than as soon as you hit the wall, you communicate that to me, and we can always find a solution. So that's about my philosophy. Last thing that I want to mention is this. Economics should be fun. I know you probably don't agree with me, but economics was supposed to be fun. And when it is like that, and when you are understanding, you will see that it is about your everyday's professional life, your work, your labor market. Most of you, I find out from your postings and communication to me, I find out that most of you are working in the labor market. This subject is about you in the labor market. As simply as that. So it must be interesting, because you will be, after this subject, you will become a much more informed participant in the labor market. You will see, for example, further down the track, you will see that there are some discriminations in the labor market. You will see how employers are screening, so-called screening hypothesis. You will see how they are screening your CVs when you are applying for a position. You will see what they are looking at the job interviews. You will see how Australian Statistical Bureau, ABS, is calculating unemployment rate. You will see what is labor participation rate. And all of those things that you are already, if you are in the labor market, you went already through, you experienced most of it, hopefully not discrimination, but most of those other concepts that we are going to learn about, you already experience, and you have the background knowledge, although you didn't know, without this subject, you didn't know how to articulate in more informed and economics way of expression or economic vocabulary. And then human resource management, how it is done, what are your rights, what are your obligations, how human resource management department works and what they are looking after, and all sorts of things. So it is, I tell my students at the microeconomics subject at the first level, at basic level, that economics is about everyday activities. And you, every single moment, apply economics rules and formulas and principles and laws and everything every single day of your rational life, even without knowing about any of those economics concepts. So economics should be fun, because it is about you and about your everyday activities. Labor economics is focused on one part of your everyday activities, your work, your participation in a labor market. So it must be fun, it must be, compared to some other subject where you have more abstract terms and more abstract concepts that you have to learn what they mean, what they are, how they are applied in the certain context. Here we are talking about us, about our participation in the labor market, and about our everyday activities. On that note, I wish you all the very best, not just for this subject or for your course, in private life as well, and that once again, to repeat, I am here for you, not the other way around. So yeah, just let me know whatever you might think that I can help with. I am more than happy to do it. All the very best.